All right, why real estate is the fastest and safest path to wealth. You know, over my long career in adult life, all of us want to know the fastest and safest path to being first financially secure and then hopefully wealthy, right? But exactly what is that path? I was working with financial planners. I got in this real estate industry, as Serena said, at 18. I started making good money at a young age. I started my own company at 22. And everybody started pointing me in the direction of financial planners. And when I started working with these financial planners, how many of you worked with a financial planner here? Financial planners lay out a plan, and everything is through the stock market, right? So my point is I spent my 20s and into my early 30s really focusing in the stock market. As my company started to grow, we started opening branches, and then I was paying all this incredible amount of money in rent. And then I said, this doesn't make sense. I started buying little commercial buildings for all our branch offices. And I started to learn the differences between wealth growth in real estate versus the stock market. It's going to blow your mind when I'm going to share it with you today. But here's the important thing. For all of us, every one of you here are in a different place financially. Some young people are just getting started, they're renting, others are homeowners, others are higher levels, and so on. But here's the most important point. Wherever you are, is how do we take where you are and advance your life financially in a straight line? Isn't that what we all want to do? I'm going to show you a path to where you can build your wealth at a level far beyond what you believe is possible. Faster and safer. Faster and safer don't generally go together, right? It was about this time last year when Bitcoin had skyrocketed. Bitcoin's going for $20,000. And I remember getting into these Facebook conversations telling people, you don't want to go there. Does anybody know where Bitcoin is now? Yeah, it's down about 75–80%. See, fast and safe don't generally go together, but I'm going to show you fast and safe. All right, first thing though is, what does it mean to be rich? Now here's why I bring this up, because on a personal level, I didn't know what it meant to be rich. I don't think most people know what it means to be rich. When I was a kid, I grew up in Compton. There was one house that had a pool in our neighborhood. So guess who we thought was rich? The guy with the pool, right? If you had a 2-story house, if you had 2 bathrooms, in my mind, you were rich. For a lot of people, you know what people think rich is? Is having an expensive car. If you're driving a Mercedes, they think you're rich. Some, in fact, most people think it's a big savings account, a big 401k. But here's what rich is. Rich is non-employment income. Now, here's what I say why I say non-employment. Over my career, I've taken thousands of loan outs. Now, when I ask someone, how much do you make per hour, per month, per year? Do you think they know the answer? They know the answer. Nobody takes a job until they know what they're going to get paid, right? But when I ask them, how much is your non-employment or investment income? The only people that know is when it's zero. My point is they're oblivious to non-employment income. And if you don't make something a priority, is it going to happen? No. It's a blind spot. You need to make your non-employment income as much of a priority in your life as your employment income is. Because as we get your non-employment income to rise, if your non-employment income matches or exceeds your employment income, now you're financially free. Now you're in a place where you can choose whether you want to work or not work, right? So we need to make non-employment income a priority. We need to have a plan. You need to know. You need to know exactly how you're going to get from where you are now to replacing your employment income. Most people have no idea. It's not on their radar. In fact, not only do they have no idea, they have no idea that they can even find out how to do that. All right, the retirement crisis in this country. Elder poverty is near rates unseen since the Great Depression. Americans struggle to save. 77% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Baby boomers, my generation, are in the worst retirement shape since the post-Depression era. Now, I want you to think why that's true. What happened to the baby boomers? Why did the baby boomers basically kind of get the shot? Here's the big shift. In the 50s, after the war, 50s and 60s, there was a thing called a pension. Most private companies that were sizable had pensions. What's happened to pensions since then? Private pensions are almost gone. Now, if you work for the government, they have pensions. Even those have been cut back quite a bit. But private sector pensions are gone. Now, why is a pension so important to people? The reason a pension is so important is it's a forced discipline. It's a program. You get a job, you sign up for the pension, they take money from your check, put it in the pension, and they contribute money. And over 25, 30 years, you work your career. One day you wake up and you go, oh, it's time to retire. You're 60 years old, you've been in the company 30 years. And they say, here you go, you can retire now, here's your pension. My point is, pensions are pretty much autopilot retirement programs. So what happened to baby boomers? The autopilot retirement programs went away. And so where did that put the average baby boomer? On their own. With no financial literacy. If you're put on your own in a place where you don't know how to fend for yourself, and if you look at financial literacy, what do they teach in our high schools? They don't teach it. Even in college, if you're not a business finance major, you don't get basic financial literacy. Everything I'm going to teach you today is things that I learned over my long career. And how my career is different from most people is that I started in real estate sales, moved over to the loan side, was in finance, started my own mortgage company. I invested millions of dollars both in real estate and stocks, but I understand there's a number of components, and I'm going to share with you all those components. There's a lot of moving components in the moving parts about how wealth growth works. I've learned how finance and wealth growth works at a high level. And when I started this journey about 4.5 years ago, it's taken a while to build this platform and more to organize things in a way where pretty much the masses can understand the complexities of what I'm going to share with you. 80% of Americans will run out of money in 5 years if they were to retire. Now think about that. 80% of the people will run out of money in 5 years. 90% will run out within 10 years if they were to retire. The 401k and IRA were designed, it was in 1978, to basically take the place of pensions. As pensions started disappearing, the 401k and IRA were created to fill that gap. What's happened is the number of people that are able to retire since the beginning with the 401k IRA has just done this. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. Let me show you how bad it's gotten. This is a report that I got from Goldman Sachs about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Now, the dark blue, if you look at the top left, it says dark blue is 1989. The light blue, it says 2016. So let's go to the bottom right, where it says the top 1/10 of 1%. So right here, we got the top 1/10, not 1%, top 1/10 of 1%. Has grown from 12 to 16% as far as the ownership of the wealth in this country. The top 1% has grown from 27 to 33. So let's add 33 and 16, that's 49%, right? The top 1% own 49% of the wealth. Now we go to the next, the 10%, 90 to 99, is 42%. So add 42 to 49, what do you have? 91%, right? So as you can see over there, it says the top 10% own 91% of the wealth. Now let's look at the middle class. Here's the middle class. In the last 30 years, the middle class used to own 16% of the wealth. It's contracted to 7, more than half, right? Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you think that's a problem? Raise your hand if you think that's a problem. I think that's a big problem. We see, kind of the, societal and political divide, in this country. This isn't helping, right? And there's all kinds of fights about how to solve this problem. Well, I'm going to tell you there's 3 ways basically to solve this problem. First one is these people start writing these people checks. How many think that's going to happen anytime soon? That's not going to happen, right? Number 2 is some radical redistribution and a socialist switch, which, there's all kinds of conversations about that, but, to me the reality is no country has been able to make socialism work. And I have another concept, or theory on that. But here's to me the viable, and I'm going to share with you today, there's one real solution to this, and that solution is real estate. I'm going to explain to you, and I'm going to show you why that is true mathematically, but more importantly, why it is true fundamentally because of the kind of intrinsic weaknesses that we have as people and as a society. All right, saving your way to wealth is almost impossible. This is where 80% of the people try to reach financial. We all want to be financially secure. But let me show you these are the typical scenarios when we do client consultation. Let's say we're talking to someone that's 40 years old. They want to retire at 65. Let's say their current expenses are $5,000 a month. So this is like house payment, food, utilities, insurance, everything. They need $5,000 a month to pay their bills. They're saving $400 a month. Let's say that $20,000 in their 401k. Inflation has averaged 3% for the past 100 plus years. The Federal Reserve was created to control inflation. Inflation, if you look historically, it used to be all over the place. Now, by design, the government wants to keep inflation at or below 3%. Now, let's say you're making 5% net on your money in your 401k. Very few people make that much on their 401k. To net 5, you got to make at least 7. Because you have to have management fees and all that, because these 401ks are not free. But the reality is most people, your accounts are diversified from conservative to more aggressive to moderate to so on. The average person is averaging more like 4%. My point is, I made this optimistic in favor of the stock market. In 25 years, you'd have $307,000 saved. Your annual expenses would be $125,000. Here's what's happened. Inflation will double your bills, whatever your expenses are, whatever your lifestyle is today, in about 22 to 23 years, it will be doubled. If you were to retire based on that, you'd run out of money in 2.5 years. This is where 80% of the people are. Your retirement income on that $307,000 is only $1,283. Look where your expenses are. And we've got a $9,100 a month shortage. Now, if your expenses are $10,000 a month, that's before tax, right? What do you have to make to net $10,000? More like $15,000, right? You got to make $15,000 to net $10,000. Now let's throw Social Security in there. Let's say you have Social Security of $2,000. If you're married, you have 2 people getting $2,000. That's $4,000. The Social Security doesn't even cover your income tax. If you start pulling money out of your 401k, I'm 60 years old, so I turned 59 and a half, and when I remember, most of my friends, people that are around my age, plus or minus a couple years, but all my friends that are, let's say, in their early 60s, all of them hate to pull money out of their 401k. It literally is painful for them to pull money out of their 401k. Now I want you to think, why do you think it's so painful for them to pull money out of their 401k? Well, now it's taxes, because they're 60 years old, they don't have to worry about the penalty, right? Here's why it's so painful. They need $5,000 to pay their expenses. They gotta take $8,500 out. They have to pay full load federal and state income tax. So if you're pulling out let's say you're pulling out $8,300 a month. Do you know how much that is per year? 100 grand. If you pull out 8,300 times 12 is $100,000 basically. If you pull out $100,000, you got 500-600 grand. That is not a pretty picture, right? And so my point to this is that, and this is really the sad part and why I'm so passionate about what I'm bringing to people with this, is that they don't believe there's any other way. The number one obstacle that I have in trying to help you is what you believe. See, all of you, from the time you were this big, like me, have been told that your path to financial security is through saving money. Isn't that true? Everybody believes that your only hope to financial security is saving money. That isn't true. I'm going to show you that is not true. Not only is saving money not the only way, it's not close to being the best way. But because people, that's just what they believe. What they believe is it's all about saving money, and if I have a 401k or IRA, then I'm locked in and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and this is the way my life's supposed to be. The problem with this is when you get to be a senior, and it, pretty much probably all of you here, if you're not a senior, you have friends that are seniors. If you're younger, you have grandparents, but you know seniors. And there's nothing worse than being a senior that is living with that heavy financial burden that they have to worry about every dollar they spend. How many know people like that? Know seniors like that? Every dollar. And that is not a pleasant way to live. All right, now, real estate or stocks. Let me show you the difference. Here's the Dow. This is 26-year history. Now, if you look on the left, it says January 1, 1990. If you're old enough to remember the early 90s, there was a recession. Now, when we had the recession, Orange County filed bankruptcy and all that, but you can see what happened to the stock market. Basically, it just went sideways. Right? A little up and down, but it basically went sideways. Then it started to improve in the late 90s. You can see the first big spike downward was the dot-com bubble when that burst. Then the recovery, September 11th attacks in 2001. That was a big spike down in the stock market. Then the recovery, and then the financial collapse from the subprime loans in 2008, 2009. And then the recovery, and now we were somewhere around 25,000. Now let's look at the same period of real estate. Now this is Los Angeles County. Median home values. Now, same period, 1990, you'll notice same recession. Stocks basically going sideways. A little bit of a dip there. Then the gradual run up. Then when subprime got really ridiculous, and they were given, they're pretty attached, and they're pretty similar. So the decision that you have to make and you want to know is, where do I put my money? Do I go stocks or do I go real estate? In Los Angeles County, 7% of the people have investment real estate. Only 7. Now the bottom 40 don't have any money in stocks or real estate. They don't have it. So let's take them out, all right? But that other 53%, you know where all their money is? Stocks. In Orange County, only 10% of the people own investment real estate, meaning 2 or more properties. So again, take 10, subtract the bottom 40. That's 50% of the people that believe that saving money in a 401k or IRA is their only path to financial security. All right, I'm going to show you just how wrong those people are. I call the utility value, I call this the secret sauce to real estate. Here's why I call it the secret sauce. How many of you have ever watched Shark Tank? Did we watch Shark Tank in here? Okay. Here's what happens on Shark Tank. An entrepreneur comes out, pitches their business, right? The sharks all look at it. And you'll hear one of the sharks, and very often I hear Mark Cuban go, "What's your secret sauce?" And here's what he's asking. What is the insurmountable competitive advantage that your business has over every other business? Now, an insurmountable competitive advantage, an example would be like a patent. If you have a product that's patented that nobody can copy, That's an insurmountable competitive advantage, right? Here is the insurmountable competitive advantage that real estate has over every other asset class that no other asset can compete with. It has a utility. You can use it. All right, now let me explain in dollars and cents what that means, because it's going to blow your mind. Let's say you have $120,000 in the stock market. $120,000 in cash will get you $120,000 worth of stock. Now let's say you're averaging net 8% a year. That means you're really getting 10%. Nobody gets a net 8% a year for 30 years. Again, my point is I'm slanting the deck in favor of stocks. Because if there's any secret financial planners in here, I don't want you coming to me saying, no, you slanted the deck in favor of real estate. All right. So you get 8% net. But when you put your money in stocks, you get stock certificates. What can you use stock certificates for? Wallpaper, right? That's it. You cannot live in stocks. You put your money in stocks, they have no utility. So what that means, if you have 120 grand in stocks, how many people do you think have 120 grand in stocks that are homeless? None, right? You're going to have a place to live. So let's say you're renting a house, a condo, whatever, you're paying $3,000 a month. Rents statewide, California statewide have averaged 4.7% for the past 50 years. Now I'm only using 4% because again I'm slanting the deck in favor of stocks and against real estate. So we're only going to use 4% rent increases. In 30 years your stock portfolio is $1,207,000, but look what you would have paid in rent over 30 years. $2 million. Reality is you lost over $800,000. See, renters are going backwards financially every day and they don't know it. Now let's compare this to buying a house. $120,000, buying a $600,000 property, it's 20% down. I'm only using 5%. Now here's why I say only, and you might want to write this down. By the way, you have a little packet here to write on to you, so we put some of these numbers. In fact, you can see on, go to this page where it says utility value of real estate. Okay. You can write in the numbers. Now, on this page, here's what I would write on the top. 7.3%. Real estate has been going up in California. Nationwide, it's 5%. California, the 50-year average is 7.3. Now keep in mind that 50-year average includes the great meltdown of 2008-2009. So the average appreciation rate for 50 years is 7.3. I am only using 5%. Here's your mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, $32.79. In 30 years, that home is worth over $2.5 million. The reality is it's going to be worth more like $3 million. Here's your total housing expense for the 30 years. $1,180,000. Here's some money for expenses for maintenance on the property, like carpet, paint, and that. Here's your net gain. $1,322,000. So here's the point. Take $811,000 negative, add it to $322,000 positive, the difference is over $2 million. The utility value of real estate is worth over $2 million. How many financial planners have you ever heard tell people that? How many realtors have you ever heard tell people that? Nobody ever has this conversation. See, stocks you get paper. With real estate you get land and you get a structure. But because it's land and a structure, you can use it, right? So here's the hidden value of real estate, and it's mind-blowing that it's hidden, but it truly is hidden. What is that utility worth? It's worth millions of dollars to you. Literally millions, and that's just on your own house. Now imagine if you turn your house into a rental. Same numbers, but now look. Now you've collected the $2 million. Because what you've done is you've sold the utility, right? You've sold the use to a renter. Now you collected $2 million. Now we have $400,000 in expenses, and the reason it's so much larger is because we have built in a vacancy factor, we built in property management, we overinflated the expenses because I really wanted this to be conservative. These expenses are higher than what they would actually be. Your net profit's $3 million. So compare that to stocks. $3 million, 1.2. The reality is, using the depreciation is going to be closer to 7%. This is going to be probably about 10%, 15% less. On average, you will grow your wealth 3 times faster in real estate when you include the utility value and the 5 economic benefits, which I'm going to go through, over stocks. Let me show you why real estate is the fastest path to wealth. Here's why. And you can see on the bottom, 5 economic benefits. Real estate is the fastest place to build wealth because of these 5 economic benefits. So you see on the left where there's the 5 lines, so you can write those on the left. We'll go through each one. The first one is leverage. Now here's what leverage means. Is if you buy a property, and let's say you buy a property, you put 10% down, you have your money in there, but then you have the loan, the bank's money, right? So leverage is really just the bank's money. But you're making money on your money and you're making money on the bank's. Next is mortgage pay down. Every time a mortgage payment is made, you have principal reduction on it. What most people are unaware of, including people in the industry, I mean loan officers don't know this. About 30% of your principal and interest payment is principal reduction. And here's the part, everybody knows that, but here's what loan officers don't know. Realtors don't know it, loan officers don't know it. Is that, let's say you have a 4% rate versus an 8% rate. Now, if you had an 8% interest rate, everybody knows an 8% payment, mortgage payment, is going to be higher than 4, right? Everybody knows that. But here's what they don't know. Is everybody thinks that the percentage of principal reduction is the same whether it's 4 or 8. And it's not true. Here's what happens. Your payment, not only as your rate goes up, not only does your payment go up, but the percentage of principal reduction goes down. So the difference between 4 and 8 is not only do you have a way higher payment, but the principal reduction on an 8% loan is half of what it is at 4%. Now, is that important? Is that relevant? Yeah, it is. It's hugely relevant because what's happening is the lower the rate, not only the lower the payment, but the greater amount of wealth growth you're having in that property. Now, if you have a tenant making a payment to you, the percentage of principal reduction, meaning money in the bank for you, is higher. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 3 is rental cash flow. Which way do rents go? They basically go one way, right? They go up. Number 4 is tax benefits. Now here's another thing that's amazing. Real estate has always had preferred tax status. In the most recent tax reform, there was a lot of complaining, particularly by California and New York, and particularly by the California Association of Realtors, hence the National Association of Realtors, about the Tax Reform Act. So here's what happened. Here's the way politics works. NAR is the largest, NAR is the National Association of Realtors, largest association in this country. It's got over 1 million members. Okay? NAR said, hey, we got a problem with this Tax Reform Act. You got to do something for us. You want us to get behind this, you got to do something. You got to give us something. So here's what they did. The real estate industry was able to lobby to negotiate 20% tax-free income. Nobody else gets this. Okay. Insurance salesmen don't get this. Any industry, only real estate, okay? So now in real estate, If you have an investment property, you have rental property, you get 20% of your income tax-free. On top of the already tax write-offs that nobody else has, which is depreciation. Most of you probably heard of depreciation. That's been around forever, right? So you get depreciation, which is significant, because you can depreciate. It's a phantom paper loss. You're able to write off the wear and tear on a structure. It's a big write-off, so you get a lot of tax-free income already. But plus that, now you get 20% tax-free. So anything real estate related, whether you sell real estate, you have investments in real estate, you're a developer, you're a property manager, and so on. Okay? So tax benefits are huge. And number 5 is appreciation. Appreciation is the only thing that most people talk about. When you talk about, is it better to invest in real estate or stocks? Everybody will say, you know, all these stock players will say, well, stocks are going up higher and faster than real estate and appreciation. That's true. That's only 1 of 5 ways you're making money. All right, let me show you. We're going to quantify in dollars and cents. You can write these numbers down. What the difference is in wealth growth because of the 5 economic benefits. Let's say you have $65,000 in the stock market. Now you get $65,000 worth of stock. But let's say we use that $65,000 as 10% down to buy a $650,000 property. We've now magnified our $65,000 as an asset by 10 times, right? We have an asset now worth $650,000. Let's say you're getting 5% in the stock market and only 4% in real estate. Now we've only used 2 economic benefits, and look at the difference already. Now we go to principal reduction. If you have a rental, $8,600 a year in principal reduction. Now cash flow, if it's your home, there is no cash flow unless you're renting a room or doing Airbnb, right? And then the tax benefits. Look at the annual difference. $41,000 per year. Per year, isn't that incredible? All right, now what I shared with you is why real estate is the fastest. Fast is really important, but isn't safe just as important? Nobody wants to build their wealth and go backwards, right? And nobody for sure wants to lose it, especially in their senior years. Okay, let me explain to you why real estate is the safest investment you can make. Now this is a 25-year history of rents in California rent. This is statewide. The first thing I want you to take notice of is look at the lines of the consistency of the growth. Compare this, you remember the chart I showed you earlier with the stock market, I was like this, right? There's a website that you can go to called uscensus.gov if you want to research this, okay? uscensus.gov will show you rent history by state all the way back to 1940. What do you think rents have been doing in the state of California since 1940? Going up. Steadily going up. How many stocks do you think look like this trend line like this for 80 years? None. None. The stability and consistency because the demand to move to California, I mean, does anybody think people are going to stop moving to California anytime soon? Rents have been going up in California 4% a year for 80 years. That's pretty amazing, right? But as amazing as that is, let me tell you what's even more amazing. Let's say in 2008 you had $1 million in the stock market and you're retired. And you're getting 5%. And 5% on $1 million, 50 grand a year, right? So you're getting a check every month for $4,200 and you're living on it. And then the stock market crashes and your $1 million is now worth $500,000. And the phone rings. And it's your stockbroker. Hey Mark, I got some bad news and I got some worse news. What's the bad news? Well, your stock portfolio is not worth $1 million anymore, it's only worth $500,000. What's the worst news? Your monthly income dropped in half, right, with the stock value, right? Every other asset on the planet, your income is directly attached to the asset value. Except what? Real estate. In 2008, look what happened to rents. Rents went up. Look, 2009, they went up. Why did they go up? It's called supply and demand. What happened to the demand for rental housing when everybody started getting foreclosed on? Went up. Here's what I want you to write down. The reason real estate is the safest investment. It is the only asset that operates on two separate supply and demand components. The first one is the supply and demand to purchase real estate. So what happened to the demand to purchase real estate in 2008? It went down, right? People got panicked. Oh, it's the end of the world. We got a financial collapse going on here. I'm not buying anything. And prices went down. But the incomes didn't go down because demand for rents went up. Now, what should everybody have been doing? If you had, let's say you had $1 million triplex, and you're getting $1,500 a month on each unit, that's $4,500. Basically the same as $1 million in the stock market. And you start looking around, you're collecting your $4,500 and you're retired, and all of a sudden you look around and a realtor comes by, knocks on your door and says, hey, you know that triplex you own that was worth $1 million is only worth $600,000. Do you want to sell it? Why would you want to sell it? No, right? Your $4,500 is good, right? Now, how many landlords do you think in 2008 said, God, I feel terrible. I feel terrible about the economy. My property value is down from $1 million to $600,000. I better cut my rent 40%. How many of you did that? None, right? None. The demand to rent is still there going up. Does that make sense? See, here's the thing that's amazing. When it comes to things are on sale, like if Nordstrom's has a sale, do people show up? They show up like crazy. When real estate goes on sale, like it did in 2008, 2009, what should you be doing?
Buying.
Buying like crazy because your income stream is locked in. And what's everybody doing? They're not selling, they're selling, they're like, I don't want to buy real estate right now. Nobody else is buying real estate. Smart people are buying real estate. All right. The secret to becoming wealthy is knowing how to create exponential wealth growth. Now I'm going to share with you my favorite part of the presentation. I want you to really fully appreciate the difference between real estate and every other asset class. Last summer, Money Magazine had an article. Now, I want you to think about it. This is Money Magazine, mind you. And here's what the article said. Is it better to invest in stocks or real estate? And here's what the article basically said. The S&P 500 over the last 50 years has averaged 8%. Real estate on a national level is average 5. 8 is bigger than 5, so it's better to invest in the stock market. That's what Money Magazine said. Now, let me show you an analysis on what Money Magazine did. Let's say you take $1 and you put it in the bank. You put $1 in the bank and you get, let's say, 1%. Now, $1, 1% is your return, right? Not very good. But besides the fact that the return isn't very good, here's the bigger problem. It's what I call linear wealth growth, meaning straight line. You're only getting paid once on your money. Now, let's say you have $1 and you put it in the stock market in your 401k. Now, we'll use the Money Magazine 8%. So here's 2, 4, 6, 8. Way better than the bank, right? But now in the stock market you're taking some risk though. But you're still doing, 8 times better. But it still has the same problem. Linear wealth growth, you're only getting paid one time on your money. See, how many of you believe that people become seriously wealthy saving in a 401k or IRA? Does anybody believe that? No, nobody believes that. Here's my point. Why do you want to do what everybody else is doing and they're not getting rich? You don't want to do what poor people are doing. You don't want to do what middle class people are doing. What you want to do is what people are getting seriously rich. And how people become seriously rich is through exponential wealth growth. Real estate is the only investment that you can make that provides that opportunity. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's say you take your same $1, put 10% down, buy a $10 property. So here's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so now we have a $10 asset. Where do you think you're going to make more money, on a $10 asset or a $1? 10, right? Pretty obvious. But we're going to use the Money Magazine, 8 versus 5. So 5% of 10 is 50, right? So here's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now, we've only covered 2 economic benefits, leverage and appreciation. We still have 3 more to go. I got a free book for somebody who can tell me one of them. Rental cash flow. All right, we got rental cash flow, right? Anybody else got one? Appreciation. Yeah, well, we got appreciation here. Tax benefits, right?
Mortgage paydown.
Yeah, mortgage paydown, right? See, here's the difference. Just your $1, just like over here. Look at this difference. It's monumental. But here's why. Here's what's important to understand why I call it exponential wealth growth. Here's really the difference between real estate and stocks, okay? Real estate is not just an investment. It's way more than an investment. The truth of the matter is, if you have a rental property, you turn your home into rental and you buy rental, the truth is, you have a business. Is a hotel a business? Hotel's a business, right? Let's analyze a hotel. What does a hotel do for a business? They rent bedrooms and ballrooms. They have an employee, right? They have a manager on site, right, managing the business. They have land. They have the structure. Who's their customer? People come in and pay rent, right? When you go in, you rent a room, right? You rent a ballroom, you're a customer. Now, if you have a home and let's say you have a single family, you turn it into a renter, or into a rental and you rent it, then who's your customer? It's the tenants, right? See, because real estate is a business, you have all these economic components. You have preferred tax status. You have leverage because banks are lending you money on your business. You can, see, here's a big difference. You can borrow money, they call it margining. You can borrow money to buy stocks, right? But let's say hypothetically, you borrowed, you got $1 in here, put it in the stock market. Let's say you borrow another $1 to buy more stock. Who's going to pay off the $1 that you borrowed to buy stock for you? Answer, nobody, right? Why? Because there's no utility. You buy real estate, 10% down, you buy a $10 property, you got the bank's money, but you have a customer, a tenant paying you rent every month. You take this money in the rent, and then they pay this off. If somebody else paid this off, what was your real cost? Just the down payment, right? That's your real cost. All right, the 10 challenges of building wealth. 1 is the struggle to save money. All this wealth growth that I showed you here is without saving money. It's intrinsic. It's built into real estate like a pension. Number 2 is where do I invest? Now you can put that, you can say, do I invest in stocks or real estate? If we say real estate, we still have to ask, where do I invest in real estate? We need to know the marketplace. When do I invest? Timing. Okay, economics 101 is supply and demand. Everybody knows that, right? When do you want to buy? When are you going to get the best price? When demand is high or low? Low. What month of the year is demand the least to purchase real estate? December. That's when you get the best price in the winter. December, January, February is when you get the best prices. When does everybody buy? Summer. It's like, you know that whole thing about real estate going on sale, like Norris was going on sale? Everybody pays attention to when it goes on sale in Nordstrom, but nobody pays attention to when it goes on sale in real estate. How do I maximize my wealth growth? There is a strategic plan, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. How much investment income do I need? Well, the answer to that depends on what kind of lifestyle you want, right? If you want to retire and cruise the world versus you want to sit home and watch Netflix, right? How do I secure my retirement income? The risk-reward analysis and the speed of wealth growth. See, when you're younger, you can take greater risks, right? Versus when you get older, we got to get more conservative. Protecting and preserving your wealth and your legacy plan takes a lifetime to build serious wealth, but it takes one lawsuit to lose it all. Have a debt management plan. And preparing and understanding your investment strategy. If you don't understand how you're going to get from point A to point B, that's a problem, right? You need to know and understand what you're doing. All right, now, there should be a form in here. Let's see. Okay, there's a little form here. Do you know your financial freedom date? We're going to walk through this, but here's my point to do you know your financial freedom date? 90% of the people do not know the answer to that question. Here's why, and this is such an important point. 90% of the people don't believe, they have no awareness that you can have a financial freedom date. Because they believe it's all about saving as much money as I can and then living on it. So the first question is, are you planning on living your life savings? Are you planning on living on your life savings through your 401k or IRA or something equivalent to that? 80% of the people, that's their whole game plan. They mentally pretty much check out. I'm saving as much as I can, pour it in that 401k or IRA, and then when I get time to retire, I'm 65, I'm going to hope like hell it's enough. That's their game plan. Is that a good game plan?
No.
That's a horrible game plan. If your plan is to live on your life savings, do you know how long it will last? So that's on your path to wealth. That's number 2. Do you know how long your money's going to last? You need to know. You can find that out right now. That is not complicated math. Number 3, do you know what your monthly expenses will be at the time of your retirement? We need to do that analysis. Whether you're 30, 35, 40, 55, 60, 65, we need to analyze. Here's where you are, here's your lifestyle, this is where your expenses are, and then lay out a plan to say, okay, let's say you're 50. I want to retire at 62. We need to have a bar. We need to analyze, say, okay, at 62, here's what inflation is going to do to your current expenses. Here's where your current debt, we need to analyze your current debt, and we need to reach the number. Number 4, do you know how you will create enough non-employment or retirement income to cover your expenses that will never run out? So let's say, as an example, your expenses are $5,000 a month. You're going to retire in 20 years. In 20 years, we analyze it. And we're going to, okay, you're going to be about $9,000 a month in expenses, which means you need to be making $12,000 or $13,000 a month. Do you have any idea how you're going to create $12,000 a month in non-employment income to pay your taxes and pay all these expenses so that you can continue to live and live the quality of life you want and leave a legacy of wealth? You can know exactly how and when to get there. Here's why you can do it in real estate and you can't do it in the stock market. The forecastability of rental income in the state of California is unlike any other asset class. Who can tell us what Amazon stock is going to be in 20 years? Anybody know? Can't forecast it. Any company can't forecast it. You can forecast California rents at a level of accuracy, and we can do it, obviously we want to do a little bit on the conservative side, but we can forecast rental incomes at a level of accuracy that no other asset can. Number 5, do you know how to protect your wealth or your life savings from loss due to market downturns or losses? How many of you believe we're going to have another 2008 at some point in the future?
Yes.
Guaranteed, right? Stuff happens. There's going to be another financial meltdown at some point. You want to be bulletproof from financial meltdowns and from lawsuits. If your assets are in your personal name, then you got a problem. Nothing should be in your personal name. All right, why the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor? First is belief. Without belief, all is lost. See, all of you walked in this room believing certain things. You know, that wealth gap doesn't need to be that way. The number one reason the wealth gap is so wide is people believe that it's all about saving money. And most frankly just give up because they know, hey, I can't save that much. Number 2 is know-how. We need to know exactly what we're going to do to get there. Number 3 is once we have a plan, you have to take action. We have to lay out a plan, analyze where you are, analyze the steps, and then you have to execute. So what do you believe? This is my favorite verse in the Bible. According to your faith, be it unto you. Now here's what this is saying. According to what you believe will come to pass. Matthew 9:29. I've seen this in every aspect of life. According to what you believe will come to pass. If you believe there is no hope, there is no hope. But if you believe you can get there and you're willing to take action, we can make it a reality.